Co-op, a grocery store focusing more on people than profit by providing living wages, supporting local farmers, and being community-owned. Citizens have a voice in how the co-op functions. Everyone can shop, and anyone can join.
Empty spaces, what are we living?
You're listening to WPVM LP, 103.7, Asheville.
Good morning. You're listening to the Blaine's World Show, heard each Wednesday morning here on the new WPVM LP in Asheville, North Carolina. You can also listen online at www.wpvmfm.org and watch on WPVM's Facebook page. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and each week we focus on the Asheville theater scene, as well as on positive news and information about people and organizations in the Asheville area. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce my first guest, and he is Richard Shulman, composer, pianist, recording artist. Welcome aboard, Richard.
Hi, Blaine. It's great to be here.
Okay, it's always a pleasure to see you. And Richard, by the way, I believe we're on Facebook Live, so you can wave to all your friends and fans and friends out
Hi,
there.
Hi, everybody.
And they're all listening, and I'm really impressed, Richard. You even got dressed up for the occasion.
A jacket makes a big deal.
It does to me. Well, it does whenever you wear it. Richard Shulman creates music to uplift and enlighten himself and listeners. I like how you say that it enlightens you as well. He has performed at the
Weill Recital Hall
at Carnegie Hall in the United Nations, numerous venues throughout North America and in Europe, has composed, produced, and recorded 27 albums on his label, Rich Art Music. And perhaps most importantly, Richard, and you didn't mention this, that you were you were also a performer in several Happy Together reviews.
I certainly did.
So, you were a star at those, so that was perhaps your most famous gig. Richard, the question I always ask, and I asked you the last time you were on the show, but how did you get into the whole music thing?
Well, when I was 7, my parents got a piano for the moving charges and asked me if I wanted lessons, if they should get the piano, and I said yes.
Before that, you'd never done anything musically?
Well, what I would say is we had a record player, and I used to listen to Beethoven's Fifth over and over again, and kind of dance around the living room listening to it.
To Beethoven's Fifth, you were bopping around. But it was kind of unusual because, were your parents big into music?
They were big music fans, but neither of them played an instrument. My father knew one Bach fugue, the beginning of it, and he would play it.
But I can just see you. I love that as a little 5 or 6 year old dancing around, not to Little Richard, not to stuff that was popular in your area, but you were dancing around to classical music. You always had kind of a feel for that?
That was my first love, and I recall either my parents or my mother taking me to what was the Niagara Falls Philharmonic, which was not the greatest orchestra, but to me it was very exciting. Sure. I would watch the timpani player.
And how old were you then?
Anytime, maybe from 5 till 10.
It's funny because I remember a somewhat similar experience when I was a young kid, and my mother would, I use the term loosely now, she would drag me to the Metropolitan Opera,
Oh, my God.
And I thought I was dragging, and they didn't have, subtitles or super titles anymore. You just had to hear the story beforehand and then kind of remember it. I remember it was I thought it was painful at the time, but now I love opera, and to go to the Metropolitan Opera was pretty exciting.
Right.
It's like, to you mentioned, I think in the introduction, you played at Carnegie Hall. That must have been exciting.
It was very exciting.
What was that occasion?
Our group had hired me to help with a benefit they were doing to help people with AIDS, and so I did a solo concert. It was very interesting because I mostly did my meditation music, but when I played, I had prepared one Brahms classical piece, and when I played that, it was so magical because it's almost like the building resonated with, because the building liked the classical music.
Right. Well, let's talk about two other kind of famous gigs you've done, but you've also, fairly often you play at Biltmore Lake, and that was really, a venue to play at, to be a one performance.
I enjoy playing.
Because it's kind of interesting, and I've seen with you, you have very eclectic range, I think, of music you play. Because I know for a long time you got into a whole jazz scene, and you're still into jazz. What got you into jazz?
When I was in high school, I had no idea what jazz was. I knew pop music and I knew classical music. And when I went to a friend's house, he played for me John Coltrane's A Love Supreme and Miles Davis' Feet of Kilimanjaro, which were both John Coltrane moved me deeply, and the Miles I found very interesting. And that was maybe a year or so later when I went to the University of Rochester. I heard this music when I was getting into the dorms for the first time. I heard this music across the hall, and I leaned into his bedroom, and I said, "Is that jazz?"
And it's funny, you still remember that, or you still remember the songs, too, that had this impact on your life.
Absolutely.
And so did you study that then, or you just fell into it?
Well, at that time, I was playing classical, and I had been in a rock band. So that's mostly what I was doing. But it turned out that I went to the University of Rochester, and the U of R owns the Eastman School of Music, which is one of the premier music conservatories in the country. And so at the end of my sophomore year, after over the summer, I ended up being music director at a summer camp, and really had a great time and wanted to audition to get into Eastman. So I auditioned. They told me I wasn't serious enough and that I should perhaps go to another school. And but they did give me lessons in their high school department. And so I did that, and that was the year that I learned how to practice, and I got into school the following year.
Well, talk about what you just said there, learn how to practice. How do you learn to practice? What is that?
Well, it's about working. What would happen was I would be playing the music, reading through the music, and it's all sounded good, and I was having a good time. Then I would get to a part that I couldn't play, and when I would get to that hard part, I would get up and have a drink of water. I would run away from that because I didn't want to face not being able to do it. So eventually I learned to stick with it and learn those hard parts, and it's about mastering small details, and sometimes the fingers don't want to do something, and they need to be trained, and one needs to understand what the music needs, and that is on a very small detail level. So before, I had just liked to go into the bliss of enjoying the music, but when you go into the details, it's not just bliss, it's you're learning to appreciate the mastery of the composer and the mastery of what it takes to play something correctly.
Are there still hard parts for you now? Like, can you pick up now most stuff pretty quickly?
It's asymptotic. In other words, you never get all the way there. There's always something that needs to be worked on.
And you can identify that yourself?
Oh yeah, it's the part that falls apart when I'm practicing.
Well, you know, one of the things, or I should mention two things that really impressed me about you, Richard. One having to do with when you did a couple of those Happy Together review shows. And what I thought was kind of cool is that you'd been doing your meditation music, you'd been doing your jazz music, your classical music, but you hadn't done, I guess, rock music for quite a while, or
not for many years.
Exactly.
Although sometimes, if I'm playing a wedding or something, and certain songs are requested, you learn those and you do them.
But that must have been kind of fun, or it was fun for me to watch you perform, in that it wasn't the usual Richard Shulman, that I've been familiar with. Having to play stuff I knew in a quick tempo, and I think you did a great job on that. It was kind of a fun thing, I guess, for you.
Well, thank you.
I don't know how much fun, but
some of it was fun, and it was beautiful to see how the singers work together. And I used to accompany singers in New York years ago, and so I have developed some skills to do that. And some of the songs, were very beautiful.
Well, talk about the other thing you did on those couple of Happy Together reviews, and this part just blew me away and blew the audience away. But you also did personalized, I guess you would call them, compositions. What do you call those?
I call those musical soul portraits.
Amazing. And what are they about?
Basically, in my training as a jazz musician, I learned how to play what I hear in my head. And to do a musical soul portrait, I just ask the inspiration for music for the highest good for a particular person or a particular group or a family or a couple or whatever. But I'm asking for music for the highest good, and then the music comes, and I do my utmost to play it, be a good secretary.
Does it always come?
It always comes. Sometimes it takes a little time.
Because the one that I thought was so beautiful at the last Happy Together review, we had a couple that come up and they'd just been married, and they requested that you do this portrait for them. It's just beautiful to watch.
It's with something that is emotionally that strong, the music usually comes in pretty easily.
Let's fast forward, if you will. We have a lot of stuff we want to talk about, but in particular, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your, I guess it's the CD you have out right now.
It's
coming
just out.
Right, and I'll hopefully show it if we can see it on Facebook Live. It's Waltzing Out of Town. And Richard, what's the idea behind that? And we want to try to see if we can play a little bit of it.
Well, I'm glad you showed it
Right.
to the camera, because last year I did a gig at an art gallery in Hendersonville, the Flat Rock Art Gallery, or Gallery at Flat Rock, and an artist named Marcia Hamill, as part of the evening's festivities, that my jazz trio played, and she painted a picture while we were playing.
Is it this picture?
That's the picture.
Okay. Because again, it's just such a phenomenal. I'm trying to bring it up close. I've never done this, but here it's up close. What a great picture of this.
It's an amazing painting, and it captures this jazz feeling, and so I just had to create an album to go with the painting.
Oh, is that so? So you didn't even have the album; she just did the painting.
She did the painting, and then I looked at my notebooks of original music and picked music from all the way back from the 70s through the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s up to 2015. The compositions from there, all original compositions, and with my jazz trio. So it's a lot of variety, and a lot of it swings really nice. And it's
You mentioned your compositions. Ballpark, how many separate pieces have you written? Any idea?
well, jazz pieces. My book is into the mid '80s, so there's probably been about 100 jazz compositions. Some of them made it into the book, and some of them didn't. And that continues as I continue to play and write.
And non-jazz compositions?
I haven't cataloged them. We'd say maybe another 50.
A question I ask of performers, or theatrical performers, but I'll ask you as well. Do you have a preference in terms of performing versus writing?
I love both. Writing is very special because it's a very intimate process. And performing is also intimate, but it includes the audience. So it's about sharing with the audience my deepest joys and deepest feelings.
Great segue, if you will, to, if we can get this going, to introducing one of the songs on this CD. I think if we get lucky, it's going to be number 2. It's Waltzing Out of Town. As I set this
title
up,
track.
Will, you kind of talk, but I'm going to set this up. And why don't you just talk a little bit about that title track?
Well, it's a tune that is a lot of fun, and it's a very it's in musical terminology, it's a diatonic melody, and the harmonies are a little more adventurous.
Okay, so let's see if we get lucky. I'm going to see if we can get this playing. Play here. Richard, let me stop that just for a second because I want to hear maybe some more music from the CD. But it's just funny, as we're playing this, my producer Amy came running in and she said, wow, she didn't hear the interview. All of a sudden she heard the music. And that was intentional because what you heard was part of Richard's latest CD, again, Waltzing Out of Town. And Richard, talk about that one, about the performers on that CD with you.
The performers are, besides myself, is Zach Page on the bass and Rick Dilling on the drums. They're wonderful musicians.
And so to put this together, how long did it take you to put together?
Well, it took me all the time to write everything, which was over many years. But it was 2 days in the studio, and then 2 days of the whole trio in the studio, and then going back and mixing and doing a little fixing myself with the engineer.
That's kind of interesting. You mentioned 2 days in the studio. You wouldn't think so. You know, it's just the CD is maybe an hour, the whole thing. Talk about the process. What else is involved in getting it from the rehearsal to the performance to the mixing? How come it takes so long?
Well, that's actually very short for a record. To have a complete record in 2 days is pretty good. So what happens is I did rehearse once with the band, and then we did a performance at White Horse Black Mountain, and that we kind of like went through the whole album before we recorded, and that showed us what we did well and what needed a little work. Basically, I just selected whatever tunes felt like would be a good order for us to record in, which is not necessarily the order at the end, you know, on the final product. But, you know, there might be a song that is good to warm up with, you know, and then there might be another song that's particularly challenging. So you place those in the performance of the recording where we feel we would do our best.
Talk about another challenge I imagine you have as a writer, performer, whatnot, when you're putting together a CD. And I've always wondered about the titles to songs. You know, do you come up with them, or how do you get the titles?
Well, that's a very good question, and that leads into the title of the first track on this album, which is called I Don't Know Yet. And when somebody asked me what the title was, the answer was I don't know yet. And I say, oh, that's a great title.
Well, hold it a second. I want to see if we can
You want to
talk a
play
little bit
that
more
one?
about. I just love the concept. So you talk a little bit about it. I'm just going to see if we can get number one up.
Okay, sure. So here is I Don't Know Yet. It was written in the 80s, but of course recorded just this last February.
And what a great title. I don't know yet.
That's it.
Now, Richard, I'm really grateful you're here today, especially because I guess you have a launch date for this Waltzing Out of Town. It's coming up.
The official launch date is this Saturday, but there's no event. Well, actually, I'm playing with the AJO Big Band at White Horse Black Mountain this Saturday because it happens to be also Bob Hinkle's birthday and my birthday.
So you're going to be, where is that going to be?
That's at White Horse Black Mountain in Black Mountain. But the one I would like to invite everyone to, of course everyone's invited to that, but towards the end of May this month, on the 29th, it's a Wednesday night, my trio is going to be playing the album at White Horse Black Mountain.
Which I think is one of the great venues. You know, it's just, I just love that place. And
It's
I know,
a great place to listen.
right, and to perform at, and Bob Hinkle's just such a supporter of, you know, not just you, but all musicians.
Right.
So that should be fun. Let me ask you, Richard, too, aside from the 29th, and you have this coming Saturday, it seems like, by the way, you keep pretty busy, do you?
I do keep busy, and it's not all out in the public. There's a fair amount of recording I do, and doing arranging for recordings, and sometimes I go out of town to do different performances.
I've always wondered, in terms of, you play with so many different performers, especially in the Asheville area, elsewhere, what's it like to get together with somebody for the first time and then have a concert that night or something? Is that a challenge?
It usually, if it's somebody that's doing that on a regular basis, it's fairly easy because the education of a jazz musician, for instance, is a fairly thorough education, and we would find that we would know a lot of the same songs. So it's kind of exciting to work with somebody new. I also enjoy very much playing with Rick and Zach, who are my regular favorites.
And you mentioned them. Why do you choose, how do you get involved in those two guys?
Well, I played gigs with them in various settings, and they're just when you find somebody that you really resonate with, really like to play with, it's worth it to hire them, you know. So what happens is, if I get a gig, I call them first. If they're available, fine. If not, I call some of the other very fine musicians around here.
Again, I've seen you with several other, you know, performers, and I just always enjoy watching you. And one of the things also that always impressed me with you, Richard, is that you seem to be always doing something different. You know, it's aside from coming out with a new CD. Talk a little about also, you work in the meditation field, and you do a lot of work with creating music from meditations.
Yes. It's a similar process because I'm still the secretary for my inspiration.
I love that. Great title.
And if I do...
Not president, just secretary?
No, I'm the secretary. It's like I'm taking dictation
I see.
from my inspiration. So it's not... This music is not all thought up. It's listened to. It's, in a way, it's channeled. And it's both for the jazz as well as the meditation music.
And I know you did that not too long ago for a friend of mine, Judy Ray. She did some, what was it, meditations, and you had you helped her record it, or what was that process?
I actually don't remember. I know that Judy is a Healing Touch practitioner, and I've created music for Healing Touch. So I think I may have played for her classes.
Yeah.
But it's been some time now.
Okay. And you don't remember every single gig you've ever had, you know.
They kind of all blend together after a while.
Talk, Richard, about, people want to find out more about Richard Shulman. Best bet is to do what?
To go to richheartmusic.com. That's RICHHEART music.com.
And they'll find information about how to get your CDs and about where you come for me,
Right.
Blaine.
You can also find me on YouTube. You can create a Richard Shulman Pandora radio station. You can find, or Spotify, you can find my music on Spotify.
And you're also on Facebook as well, is that correct?
Facebook, and I'm as well, and iTunes, and wherever music is sold.
And a nice thing you can do, too, if you want to celebrate the launch date of this new CD, again, we'll just show it one last time. Beautiful album, beautiful cover, Waltzing Out of Town. I think everybody can see it. You can celebrate if they want to this Saturday night and watch this broadcast on Facebook Live. That's how they can celebrate if they don't get to write to us.
Great.
To see you in concert. Anyway, Richard, as always, I'd like to thank you for being my guest this first half hour on the Blaine's World Show, and we look forward to seeing you many times in the future.
Thank you so much, Blaine.
Okay, buddy. Great. Thanks a lot for stopping by. And as Richard works his way out of the studio, I'm going to just mention some of the upcoming events in the Asheville area. And two come to mind. You know, there are certainly a lot of great events in the Asheville area. But one is a play called Speech and Debate. And that's going to be at the 35 Below. It's being put on by Attic Salt Theater Company. It's a show about three misfit teenagers who come together to start a speech and debate team at school, protest the school's production of Once Upon a Mattress, and take down a possibly predatory teacher. That's going to run from May 10th to May 26th, and tickets for that can be found at ashevilletheater.org, ashevilletheater.org. In addition, everybody's invited to come to or attend something called the Asheville Creative Arts Spring Fling. And there'll be a free puppet show at that event. Should be a lot of fun. That'll be on May 19th from 4 to 7 p.m. And you can find out more information about that at at the Burton Street Community Peace Center. It's next my pleasure to introduce my second guest of the show, and he is Gary Harnash, event founder, coordinator of the Asheville Food Truck Showdown. And welcome aboard, Gary.
Thank you so much, Blaine. Thanks for having me.
Okay, and again, Gary, we're also on Facebook Live, so you can wave to your many fans and friends in Facebook Live world. And I should mention that Gary, in 2013, had an idea to finally combine his love of food with the food truck community of Asheville, North Carolina. I love how you say this. He was constantly chasing after his favorite food trucks in the many different locations and venues. So the idea was to create an event where the food truck community could all come together on the same day, the same location at one time. And again, great title for an event. The Food Truck Showdown was born from the idea. Kerry decided to take it further by including various charities in the Asheville area. In 2014, his first annual Food Truck Showdown, I remember that one, took place at the Asheville Masonic Temple in the adjacent parking lot. Each year, Kerry tries hard to make the event a family-friendly, fun occasion for all ages to enjoy. So come out to support the food truck community and help raise much-needed funds for local charities. Cool idea for two reasons. One, aside from promoting the food truck community in Asheville, but talk about this idea of promoting local charities. What do you do with that?
Well, when I decided to create this event, I said this might be a really good opportunity to not only help the food trucks and some local businesses, but also help some local charities that need some representation, need funds, need some help in the community. So I found a way to include them in the event. And every year, this is the way that I put it out there, is I help a two-legged and a four-legged charity. So, you know, my two-legged obviously is some sort of human-type charity, and the four-legged obviously is pet-related. So this year we're going to do Brother Wolf Animal Rescue as my four-legged charity. And so they're going to have a booth there. They're collecting funds. If you want to bring by food or toys for the various pets, they are collecting on site. And then I'm going to donate a portion of proceeds to this particular charity. On the two-legged side, this year we're going to do a new charity that is in Asheville area. It's been here for a while. It is a national organization, but it's one that I fell in love with because of their mission and what they do. And it's called No Barriers USA. What No Barriers does is they help out vets and at-risk youth. And so they try to break down the barriers and help them overcome whatever it is that's holding them back or in their way. So those are the two charities that I'm going to be personally donating proceeds from my event to.
And by the way, off the air, give me a contact for that organization because I'd love to get them on the show. You know, I'd love to find out more about them. Go back to way back when you were a kid in terms of the idea for this event. Did you know, like, when you were a little kid, I know you grew up in Florida. Were you a foodie when you were in Florida?
I wasn't. My parents worked really hard. I was, one of those latchkey kids who stayed home and had to forge through the refrigerator, find out whatever's left over for dinner. And being that my mom worked with my dad, it was leftovers or whatever it was that you can heat up really quick or microwave.
And by the way, a shout out to your mom, Janice, great cook. I've had, food from a really good cook. So you would scrounge around for leftovers, you were a little kid. Fast forward to then how you got interested in the field.
Well, I discovered Food Network, to be honest with you. And once I discovered Food Network, I realized, wow, there's other flavors out there. There's a way to combine tastes and foods and herbs and spices. And I started experimenting. And from all that experimenting, I learned that I do have a love for food and, the different type of ethnicities out there and the varieties. So I just fell in love with food.
In terms of cooking?
And not only in terms of cooking, just, tasting profiles.
Because I think that's maybe how I first met you. And it was, I thought it's kind of a funny story, but you always entered the chili competition. We had a chili cookout competition in my community, Biltmore Lake. I remember you were so intent on that, and I think one year you won it, and then one year you came in second or third, and you were so distraught, that how could you not win this? But it was.
You said you know my parents well and you know my father and everything is a competition, and even with chili, and I put my heart and soul into the bowl, and obviously you're always hoping to win. That's the competitive side. It is a competition, and the first year I swept every category.
I remember, right.
The second year I think I placed second in the overall traditional category, and I was miserable.
God's honest truth, you were. I remember you were shaking your head and saying, I'm not going to enter this again. And, it wasn't the competition of the judges. But it was just fun to watch you. It was fun to taste your chili. But you put so much into it. And then I think your mom entered cornbread competition or something. She made something into it. So she got into it as well. From there, then, so you weren't doing the food truck event then. That was maybe 10 years
Correct.
ago, 8 years ago. What gave you the idea for the food truck event?
So one day I was speaking with my wife, and we were talking about food and what we want to do for lunch. And I said, I'd love to eat at this specific food truck. And she says, okay, let me look it up really quick. So she goes on her cell phone and looks it up and finds it's located in North Asheville from such time to such time. And I live in South Asheville. And I looked at my wife and said, like every Ashevillean, there's no way I'm driving to North Asheville to, go to this truck. So I looked at my wife and I said, you know what? I wonder if I can create an event where I have all my favorite food trucks in one place at one time so I could eat. And she looked at me and said, Carrie, you off your rocker, you're nuts. Ain't going to happen. And I said, you know what? Challenge accepted. We're going to do it now. And once again, I said, well, now that I'm selfishly getting all my food trucks there, I got to do something to help the community. So therefore, I created the charity aspect of it. So that's how the funny story of how it came together. It was out of necessity for me being able to eat.
Now, this was the sixth one this year?
This coming year will be the sixth year.
So the first one, I mean, I just watched the growth of this has been pretty amazing. That when you started it, how many trucks did you have the first one? Do you remember?
The first year, we had 10 food trucks.
Okay.
My 10 favorite trucks. And then, like I said, it just exploded after that. It's grown over the years. We moved it out to the Ag Center because we needed more space, and they obviously can provide the space for all these food trucks. And this year, we have 18 trucks. That's a lot of trucks in one area, one place. And so the other thing I try to do is make sure there's a variety, so it's not all barbecue. It's not all taco trucks. There's a little something for everybody. I'm always getting a lot of messaging about, is there going to be vegan or vegetarian options? I go, look, these trucks are from Asheville. They know the area. I would almost guarantee that the majority of them have some sort of vegan or vegetarian option in there. So I wouldn't worry about that. But the variety is amazing. I keep posting about the food. If you go to the website or if you follow us on Facebook, you can watch the post I have about representation of these trucks and their food. and some of their pictures, and I'm getting hungry just watching these
Well-
things and posting about it.
Well, not only that, I'm getting hungry just talking.
I know, I know. I think you heard a growl there in the
Yeah,
background.
so you didn't bring any samples with you today?
Unfortunately, I am not a food truck, so no.
You know, one of the amazing things, I think, just living in Asheville has been this whole growth of food trucks, you know, and you were there, I guess, when it started, but 10 years ago, 11 years ago, they weren't even a part of the fixture. And then there were battles, remember, when you could even have food trucks and, you know, would it be cutting into the restaurant industry? Yet somehow the food truck industry has certainly taken off in the time you've been here.
Yes, and that's the interesting thing, and that was one of the things that motivated me not only to eat, but to help these food trucks out, because these are individuals that really want to test the market. They want people to try their food and see the reactions they get and be able to test market without sinking money into a large brick and mortar. And you know, Asheville at the time was not really food truck friendly, and the permitting process was really difficult and really expensive. And so these guys would, and what I mean by these guys, are the food trucks would have to go to various locations to obviously get their permits or be able to set up shop. And that's why you'll see a lot of them at the breweries or different areas around town. It's very difficult to get space in the city. And even to this day, it's very difficult to get space in the city. And, you know, like I said, some of these guys are classically trained chefs, and they're amazing with what they can do. And what amazes me is when you go to a full brick and mortar restaurant, you know, there's that whole time period when you sit down, they take your drink order, they give you your appetizer, they take your main order. You know, it could be an hour and a half, 2 hour experience. With a food truck, you're getting the quality you would out of a brick and mortar, but you're getting it now on the spot. And you know, these guys can only hold so much food at one time. They can only do so much at one time. And they're basically doing everything you could in a major kitchen, in a kitchen the size of probably my bathroom at home. So that's the amazing part of it. And like I said, the freshness and quality and the creativity that goes into their food, probably superior to some of the restaurants.
It's probably exciting for you to watch also the growth and progression of some of these food trucks. And also, some of them actually do become restaurants. Is that correct? Or they take the food truck concept, maybe still keep it, but do enter into a brick and mortar situation?
They do. And you know, as I was saying earlier, this is a test market for some of these guys and girls. And by getting out there and people responding, you know, to their food in a good way, they're able to then say, okay, I can actually open up a brick and mortar, which actually works if you look at it, because instead of opening a brick and mortar, maybe failing, and then having a shell of a building, at least these guys know that they do have a following. They know that their concept works, and so I think it sets them up for better success going forward.
What's cool, I think, about food trucks, and we'll talk about some of the ones you'll be having at the upcoming event, is that some of them just specialize in one or two things. You know, unlike a full-scale restaurant or a diner, I miss some Florida diners, perhaps I miss New York diners. Some of these food trucks do well by just having one or two items, and they can succeed with that.
They do, and when you say one or two items, they usually have between 4 or 5 on their
Right.
menu, and excuse me, and a lot of them are seasonal with their food, so whatever's fresh that day, they'll get really creative with it, or whatever's in season, or if there's a specific holiday, you know, so they're able to spin on a dime, which is the other great part about being small. Very flexible and very adaptable.
Talk about the upcoming event, and what I'm really excited about, and we'll talk about why I'm excited about it, but it's the Asheville Food Truck Showdown. That'll be on May 18th. Give some details on that, if you would.
So this year, it's going to be May 18th. We changed it for March only because we're hoping for really good weather, and we're hoping that we don't have freezing cold rain. And so we're back out at the Ag Center at the Boone Building, so that's Gate 5. We have some really cool things going on. As we did last year, we started this Artisan Expo, which helps local crafters. So we got some really good crafters and tradesmen who are really good in their techniques, and they're going to be displaying their wares for purchase. We have a whole kids section, so please bring your kids. There's bounce houses, rock climbing walls. I think there's even a riding bull or something like that. So there's a lot of things for kids. PetSmart is a sponsor, so they're going to have a whole pet release station. So They're going to have little treats and water, and so as long as your pets are on a leash and well behaved and socialized, please bring them out. I think last year we even had a pet pig on a leash, so yeah, you never know what might show up. And then, like I said, we have 18 food trucks this year, and they're all a variety of different foods. And then the big one is we have 5 live bands going off. So all this, the admission into the event is absolutely free. We haven't charged for admission, and we're not going to start. So absolutely free to come and enjoy all this. The only thing you're paying for is food and drink.
And let's talk about 2 ways you can experience this. And it sounds like with 18 food trucks, you're not going to go hungry that day.
No, if you go hungry, it's your fault, to be honest with you. There's no way.
Well, talk about also one of the unique things I think you offer every year is it's something called, was it a VIP tasting experience?
Yes, the VIP tasting experience. So about 3 years ago, I had a lot of Facebook traffic and a lot of inquiry about, I want to try everything from every truck, and it's feasibly impossible. I mean, I'm a big guy, and there's no way I'm going to eat a full meal from all 18 trucks. So I came up with this concept called the VIP tasting experience. And so for one fixed price, which you can find out information about the badges on the website, you can get a sample from all 18 food trucks plus 2 beverages of your choice. So, like I said, we're limited on the amount. It is a limited badge amount, and we do that on purpose to make sure everybody gets their samples and gets through in a timely manner. And also, it gives you an opportunity, like I said, to sample all 18 trucks.
And one of the things I think you've done very smartly there is that if you come for this experience, you're not going to have to fight crowds. In that it's kind of a special thing. You come in earlier, is that it?
Correct. So
what happens
if you have a VIP tasting badge, you get to come in at 11 o'clock, and so you'll be in there an hour before it's open to the general public. And you get this cool little badge that we designed, and it's on Facebook, and you can check it out. And you'll just go up to the truck, you'll get your sample, they'll cross off their little logo. You'll go to any one of the 2 different places that you can get your beverages from, whether they be adult or water or soda. They'll cross that off for you, and it's just an enjoyable, easy experience. All you do is walk around and eat. How bad can that be?
And you also get the opportunity, if you come to that, you get to vote, I think, in that as well?
You do. I almost consider my VIP tasting guys and girls as mini judges. So because they get to sample every truck, they also get to pick the VIP Taster's Choice. So we do have 3 categories, and they're really nice crystal trophies that they get this year. And once again, those are posted on the website. But you get the VIP Taster's Choice, which is only for the VIP tasters. You have the People's Choice for general public, and then you have the judges, which you kind of alluded to why you're so excited about this year's event.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the fact that you scoured far and wide to get 2 very talented judges. We'll talk about them. And somehow, I'm honored, Carrie, you asked me to be a judge in this event.
I did.
And I'm honored in that, as you know, Cynthia, my beautiful bride, and I eat out a lot. But I don't know about tasting 18 samples in one day in a short period of time. We'll have to get through that experience somehow. But talk about your other judges as well.
So we have a total of 3 judges. One of them is a finalist, James Baird Award finalist, Marwan Irani. He owns Chai Pani and a bunch of other restaurants in the local area. So I'm very lucky to have someone of his caliber as a judge. And then I have another friend of mine who's very persnickety when it comes to food. He's a perfect critic, and I really enjoy the fact that he's going to be a judge. He's done it last year. He's also competed in some food type events. So he's been around the competitive side of it, and he's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, he has very distinct tastes, so he's going to be interesting. And then there's you, of course.
And I like how, when we spoke about this, I like kind of how you explained this to me. I was asking about, how did I get chosen? And you said I get chosen. I'm kind of the Joe Average guy or something.
You are. So when I put together my panel of judges, everybody's like, oh, how do I become a judge? What I try to look for is, I have my amazing chefs. I have my people that know food and know it well. Then I have usually someone who's like a food critic, or someone who's a blogger, or someone who knows about food or has competed in some way, so they understand food. And then the last component is my everyday Joe. And that's where I felt you would come in and you would serve your role best. in that, it's a food truck, and average everyday people eat at food trucks. So I wanted the average everyday person who would, eat at a food truck as one of my judges.
Well, I feel honored. Thank you very
So,
much.
I don't know if that's an honor
Or punishment.
Yeah, or punishment. I don't know what that is, but it is. I'm actually really jealous of the fact that I wish out of one of these 6 years I can make myself a judge, because every year I get to see the pictures of the food that these guys are putting out, and I'm jealous.
Let me ask you, Kerry, aside from the judges going to be sampling the 18 foods, in the people who do the VIP tasting experience, do some of them sample every truck?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what you're getting. It's included in the price of the experience. Is you get a sample from all 18 food trucks.
And some make a point to try all 18?
There's sample sizes,
right,
so
right.
it's absolutely feasible to eat all 18 trucks. You're going to be full afterwards, but it's not. You're not eating 18 full meals. They're sample size, so you'll be. The ability to do it is there.
And one of the things I guess I'm looking forward to is the idea that I'll be trying some stuff that I ordinarily wouldn't have tried. And I guess that's the whole idea of people come to this food truck experience.
And that was the point of the VIP tasting experience, because, some of these trucks have a following because they've been around for a while. And a lot of the customers that they have feel guilty, so they want to go to just their truck. And once again, you can only eat 2 or 3 meals, even sharing it with someone. So this forces you to kind of step outside the box and try the other trucks, maybe find your new favorite truck. You never know. So it's good marketing for these guys. It's a way for you to try something outside your comfort zone, and I think it's a win-win all the way around.
Talk about some of the food trucks that will be there. Can you go through, just give the listeners an idea of who they'll be seeing?
Absolutely. If you want a list of all 18 names, like I said, you can do a couple things. You can go to the website. I'm just going to breeze through these real quick, but Appalachian Chic, Bahari's Food Truck, Brian Haas, Bun Intended Food Truck, Cecilia's Kitchen, Culture Shock, Eco Food Company, Fuego, Grateful Roots Food Truck, Gypsy Queen Cuisine, Haywood Harvest Mobile Grill, Hit the Pit Barbecue, Kababi McGee's, Mountain View Barbecue and Deli, Out of the Blue Peruvian Fusion, Queen City Jamo, Root Down, and The Real Malloy's. Those are going to be the lineup of the 18 trucks.
Now, some of these have been with you in the past?
They have.
And some of these will be for the first time?
Some of these guys are brand spanking new, which is going to be awesome. And like I said, when I choose trucks, I choose it for the variety of food they bring to the table, and I look for something unique. So there should be some really unique, good opportunities for people to work their way through.
Now, have you actually sampled all of these?
I have not.
Okay, so some of this will be new for you, too.
It's new for me as well.
Well, one of the things I think you did very well putting this collection together is, as you were telling me off the air, you try to have different kinds of restaurants. So even though barbecue, you don't have 18 barbecue trucks.
Correct.
But you have a couple of different kinds of different places. That's what you try to do.
Well, and every year that's a challenge for me. I have so many food trucks. There's so many in the area, and there's so many that contact me. And, a lot of them have the same type of food. And I'm not a barbecue competition. I never was. So I do have my barbecue trucks there, but we don't have, it's not all barbecue. We don't have all taco trucks, and nothing against them. It's just, it's not, a taco festival. And so I try to get a variety there, so you get to sample a lot of different things that you normally may not know of or be aware of or have tried in the past.
Now, one of the issues, I guess, with the food trucks, and I also were talking off the air about this, is they don't necessarily have regular hours. You have to kind of find them, or I guess if you want to find the food truck, best bet is just get the name of the food truck and then follow them on Facebook.
That is, if you come to my event, you can, like I said, sample their food, and if you like them, you can follow them, and that way they always post where they're going to be and the times they're going to be there. But that was one of my biggest issues, and why I created the event was always trying to track these guys down, always trying to figure out where they're at. And I think this is the one event where you get all the best of the food trucks in one area at one time, and that's why I think this event has become so successful.
Well, it's funny you say that, because one of the issues I have with some of the food trucks is that not only is it sometimes hard to track them down, but you would think, Carrie, if I were a food truck, I would put my hours and locations on the food truck. And so it's one food truck I discuss it with, is you never know where they're going to be. So I would just put a big sign up, even, I don't know if they do it at the food truck competition, but Sunday we're going to be here, or look for us next week. It would just seem it would be easy to make it easy for people to find you.
would be. I think for them, because sometimes they don't have regular scheduled stops or places or hours, depending on weather or whatever else is going on. I think that becomes difficult. So I think a lot of them turn towards social media to make that happen. And once again, if you follow them on Facebook and any one of these 18 trucks that I just rattled off, if you're curious about who they are, where they are, what they do, some of the food, go to the website, www.ashevillefoodtruckshowdown.com, all one word, so www.ashevillefoodtruckshowdown.com. If you go to the food truck links, if you click on the link that's on their on the 2019 trucks, it will bring you right to their Facebook pages.
By the way, good to know, and you're teaching me something here, that if I want to get information about those 18 trucks, all be listed on your Facebook page?
Absolutely.
On the website, I mean.
And the other thing, too, is over the last month I've been posting about the trucks, about type of food, putting up some pictures that, like I said, represents some of the types of the food that they put out. So you can follow us. Like I said, go to the website, go to Facebook, follow them. There's a lot of different ways that you can track these guys.
You mentioned before, it's funny you said that your stomach is growling, and mine is.
I know, right?
Just hearing about this. Also, I didn't realize the depth or the wide range of bands you have in this, and that it's a whole musical event. Do you know, or do you have offhand the name of the bands who are going to be there?
I do. This year with the bands, I just actually announced it about 2 weeks ago, and I always try to get a variety of bands and a variety of music. I try to bring something for everyone. So some of the trucks that I have, we have Soul Frequency, which some of these guys have been playing together for over 40 years and know each other for that long. So I'm really excited. They're going to do some classic rock, some stuff that you would sing to and dance to in the shower type music. They're going to be a lot of fun. They're going to play for the VIPs this year. Starting at 12, we have everything from Striking Copper, which is a band that I brought back. I don't usually bring back too many, but I brought them back. Seasoned professionals. They have two beautiful twin singers that have amazing voices. And so eventually I'm going to end up losing them because they're going to blow up and get really huge. And so I want to take advantage of the fact that I can have them now. There's also the Caribbean Cowboys, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Blaine, they play around town. They do some really good music. Once again, it's fun music you want to sing and dance to. And then we have a couple other bands, and I don't want to give them away. Just go to the website because that's the best place to get an idea of some of these bands, what their music is. I mean, Johnny's been playing for a while, and that's Johnny Blackwell Band. So they're all there. Well,
another event you have too, and you mentioned it certainly is kid friendly. I mean, what a great event! Pet friendly, but also kid friendly. What are some of the things that kids can experience if they come?
Well, Incredible Inflatables has been rolling with me now for 6 years, and Anouk is an amazing, amazing individual. I think he just emptied the treasure chest on this event because he's bringing out every inflatable known to man and some new ones that I've never seen before. So he has everything from bounce houses to rock climbing walls to even a mechanical bull with an inflatable area around it. So, I mean, it's very safe for kids. All that, once again, is on the website under the kids section. Check it out because every year I have parents, can I ride those? Can I bounce on those? And he's like, absolutely, up to 250 pounds, you're good to go. So adults can do it.
I'm there. By the way, is there a charge for those?
There is. He's a vendor.
Okay.
So the way that he's doing it this year, which is really nice, is it's either $3 per use of any one of the items, any one of the bounce houses or rock climb, or for $20,
right,
which is an amazing deal. You get the wristband, which will allow you to you get a cotton candy, so we sugar your kids up first, and then they're able to bounce and rock climb all until their heart's desired all day. So it could be an all day thing for.
But I should ask you, if I don't get that whole pass, can I get cotton candy separately?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm just listening to this event, and again, I thank you for talking about it. Is this almost like visiting the World's Fair? Years ago as a kid, that. Wow, I didn't realize there was so much, it's a lot more than just food, tasting food trucks. You're going to have a fun time there. You stay a couple of hours.
And that's the thing. I try to create an event where you'll basically want to stay the whole day. We have something for everybody. The whole family's involved. I try to take out the hurdle of it's free admission, so there's no excuse why you wouldn't come. Bring a lawn chair, sit out all day, listen to the music for free. Enjoy yourselves. And by the way, because everybody asked me who the brewery is this year, so it's going to be Wicked Weed. So we're serving Wicked Weed, which is some of the best beer in the area.
And Carrie, just again, if somebody wants more information, Best Bet, they can check the Facebook page, but also the website again.
The website is www.ashevillefoodtruckshowdown.com. So www.ashevillefoodtruckshowdown.com. Take you right to the website. All the information we just talked about is listed on the site.
I'd like to thank you, Gary Harnash, for being my guest the second half hour on the Blainsville Show. Also Richard Shulman for being my guest in the first half hour. Amy Prishnash, my producer, and to Zuzu Welsh, who provided the music you heard at the beginning of the show, and you'll now be hearing at the end. Look forward to having you join me next Wednesday here at 9 a.m. here on the new WPVM LP in Asheville, and also watch us on Facebook Live. Hope to see you next week.
You're listening to